Hello everybody, Dokkan Assets here. Today we are back with another Dokkan Battle video, and today we are once again going to be talking about SafetyNet. Now, I know I made a video on SafetyNet a little while ago talking about what SafetyNet was, giving you guys a basic summary, giving you guys my thoughts on what it would affect, how it would affect it, so on and so forth. But I wanted to make this video today not only to inform all of you and keep you all better informed, but also to help keep myself informed to the best of my ability, so well I can keep you guys informed. The never-ending cycle, I suppose. So today we're going to be taking a look at the post from the Dokkan Reddit from the absolute god of data mining Dokkan himself, Thieving Six. If you're unaware who Thieving Six is, he is a person who has been around a long time in the Dokkan community. He has a lot of coding knowledge and a lot of knowledge about the game. I think he may have even gone to college like to get a degree for coding, if memory serves correctly on that one. But regardless, I have a lot of respect to him. I also really look up to him when it comes to these type of things. Like, bro, if I am the Bill Gates of data mining, this guy is the Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk of data mining, okay? My man really knows his stuff. He is quite powerful when it comes to these things. Like, literally anything that he says when it comes to Dokkan, I literally take as basically the 11th commandment. You know what I'm saying? So he is definitely somebody who would know exactly what he's talking about when it comes to this type of stuff. So we're going to read through this entire post here in this video, and of course we are going to throw a link to it in the description below. I don't know why I said we, it's just me sitting here in this Jiren figure on my desk. But anyway, let's go ahead and hop into it here. So, information on SafetyNet, recent JP pop-up warnings, and other info. This will be in-depth summary at end and ask questions, basically structuring how this will work. And I do also want to note as well, we are not only going to be going over a couple of the questions, because I feel like it is important information for all of you to know what some people have asked already, but like I said, since I'm leaving the link to this in the description below, if you would like to ask any questions to Thieving Six, please feel free to hit up this Reddit post and comment on it. I've seen he's literally commented on, I think, every single comment on this post, which is awesome. So if you have any questions after this video, definitely feel free to go over there and hit him up. A reminder, what SafetyNet is Android and device check iOS. SafetyNet, I actually don't even know how to pronounce that, but I'm going to assume it's Attend Station, like Attention Station, is an anti-abuse service that allows app developers to access the Android device their app is running on. SafetyNet should be used as a part of your abuse detection system to help determine whether your servers are interacting with your genuine app running on a genuine Android device, right? So, in layman's terms, essentially to make sure that there's no modifications and everything is correcting, well, I guess kind of, connecting the way that it should in terms of your app to the actual servers, right? It is a little bit scary that they can access the actual, like, device that it's running on, but of course for the app to work properly, it needs to be able to do that. That's sort of a normal thing, right? Like a lot of programs on your computer do that. It just sounds kind of scary, right? But it's really not. Everything that we use in every day kind of does the same thing. Let's continue. SafetyNet, by the way, I'm just going to call it SafetyNet for the sake of simplicity, works on virtually all devices Android 2.3 and up. Dokkan requires Android 4.4 and up. I believe we are on something like Android 11 by now, so obviously that is a very large group of Android devices that can work on, from really, really old to obviously super new. The way Android backwards compatibility works, SafetyNet will continue to work on all new devices as well. So basically, this is some more information on that. Unfortunately, I don't even really understand this because this has to do with API and different checks and stuff like that. But of course, this is linked in the Reddit post if you would like to take a little bit of a more detailed look at it. But essentially what Thieving Six here is just saying that, you know, it works because obviously, you know, they've designed it to work on literally every single Android platform as to obviously not allow for any exploits. And that's basically what this is explaining. Moving on, we now have the iOS version, which is called device check, parentheses, plus app at test. Someone who modifies your app and distributes it outside the App Store can add unauthorized features like game cheats, ad removal, or access to premium content. This is, of course, like the equivalent of sending out a modified APK on Android, right? It's the same thing on iOS. It's just a lot harder to do on iOS. The App at Test service gives your app a way to assert its validity so that your server can more confidently provide, that might have been a typo there, so that your server can more confidently provide, there we go, it's just my brain doing a typo, access to sensitive resources, right? You use the App at Test service class to generate a special cryptic key on the device and have Apple attest to the validity of that key. Basically, verifying that it is the actual app that you downloaded from the App Store, right? You can then use that key to assert the validity of your app, whether you request sensitive data from your server, right? Obviously, things that you don't want your end user seeing. And then a little bit more detail on how all of that works, again, in this document here. Both of these things are from official Android and Apple services, by the way. So obviously, all of this stuff is legit and makes sense in terms of, you know, the nitty-gritty of it all. Moving on, device check requires iOS 11 and up. App test requires iOS 14 and up. Dokkan does not currently implement app test, just device tokens, right? Which kind of makes sense because obviously I don't think that it has completely... Dokkan has completely stopped service on some older iOSs. I tend to keep up with the Android a little bit more than I do the iOS in terms of the versions that Dokkan currently supports because I'm an Android type of guy myself. But to give you some context, because I know it might seem like... Hydrate or dihydrate, by the way. I know it might seem like, oh, well, iOS 11, you know, seems kind of new. To give you some perspective, right, iOS 10 came out pre-2017. I think it would have been around 2015, 2016 the iOS 10 came out. So keep in mind, in terms of technology, that is quite some time ago. So, for the summary, SafetyNet and Device Check gives app developers a way to try and detect users from accessing sensitive app data or from modifying the app. Detect, not prevent. This is important. I believe this is what causes some confusion on if these features are in use in Dokkan. Obviously, there is a very big difference there because, of course, that doesn't necessarily mean that there is like a firewall or a roadblock there. It just sends Bandai, or I guess in this case Akatsuki, more like a little notification or what have you. Hey, you know, this isn't supposed to be happening, and gives them a little bit of a flare, right? So that is definitely something important to keep in mind, and obviously, you know, also gives a little bit of peace of mind, I think, for people who maybe don't really understand that if you just play the game, right, and nothing else, like not indulging in any data mining, not indulging in poking around the files, modifying the game, you know, even I guess to that extent viewing data mines and stuff like that, it really won't be affecting you. And SafetyNet has been implemented for a little bit of time now, just not the full version. That's why for a while on JP and Global, the menus were super slow to load because they had to do checks with the server to make sure that everything was all good from your device to their end, right? They have thankfully updated that now, and the menus work flawlessly and super speedy. So that's awesome, because obviously we don't want to be spending more time than it takes to play a Dokkan event on the menu screen waiting for it to load. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at Dokkan's history with SafetyNet. After I take a quick drink of water. SafetyNet was added to Dokkan in version 4.12.0 in October of 2020. I actually didn't even know it was that far ago, which is awesome, because again, like I said, this post and the point of this video is for me to also learn along with you, the audience, right? That is crazy. That obviously means that it has been beginning to be implemented all the way since back then, which kind of crazy to think about. Like, I mean, I guess it's still October is obviously a few months away, but you know, that's like what, over half of a year, I believe. It has been active and running since that time, right? Again, we did know this because, like I said, with the lag thing, you know, we knew that was going on. Since then, Dokkan has not been doing anything with the data they received. No bans, no login blocks. know nothing. This is also important to keep in mind because I know a lot of people are very skeptical when it comes to this sort of thing. Funny enough, I was talking to T6 the other day, and he was like, yeah, I still have people that come up to me sometimes thinking they're going to get banned for modding the game like 2 years ago. And it's like, obviously that's not going to happen. For one, you know, and this is me telling you this, not T6. If it was going to happen, right, it would have happened a while ago, right? 2 years, you're in the clear. I don't think they care that much. So, right, obviously this should give you guys some peace of mind that for the time being, they're not doing anything with the actual data that they receive. All right, next up, how do we know they are and have been collecting SafetyNet's data since last October? This requires some background information. The global version of Dokkan used to distribute data to the game with some missing steps. Sometimes this gives us a huge amount of information, like this recent global data leak. Other times we get strong hints of action. This ended with 4.17.6. By the way, if you are curious about what he meant with the recent global data leak, a couple of data downloads ago, if memory serves, I believe it was around the time of the GT Goku and Vegeta, or a little bit after that. But regardless, a lot of the actual like data, right? Like, because data mining means a lot of things, right? Like literally all different kinds of data, right? Whether that be code, you know, the database, the assets, right? All that kind of stuff is a lot of things. But in this case, right, with this global leak, it was a lot of information that we didn't actually know, and like he was saying, a lot of missing pieces that we had no idea about before. That was, I guess, data that we really shouldn't have been seeing and getting our hands on, because it makes it more dangerous on Bandai's end what we could end up doing with that information, because it gives us a lot more information to be able to poke around in Dokkan, right? And give us a little bit of a more backdoor and know some information that they definitely don't want us knowing, right? Like, there was a lot of different rates for different things in that leak, you know, summoning rates, which, I mean, are public because, you know, legality in Japan, you know, the rates for link leveling up, right? That kind of stuff that obviously they really don't want us seeing, besides the more sensitive data, which still is sensitive data, but, you know, not as sensitive, I guess, at least in my opinion. Anyhow, moving on, one of the things Global Dokkan used to leak to us was how the server was storing data. It didn't usually tell us what the data was, except for that recent global leak, but it gave us a bit of a summary. There exists a place called Device Token Statuses. This place held the following data: user ID, success count, failure count, last succeeded at date and time, last failed at date and time, and device disabled. Device token is SafetyNet. We know this because that's what the game calls the SafetyNet at station when you log in. While not 100% confirmed, the existence of the above very strongly points to Dokkan collecting about pass and fails of SafetyNet. Yeah, so keep in mind, right? That is not, you know, success and failure of like the event you completed or something like that. That's your data being checked server side to make sure everything is all good and normal. Moving on to the next section, the recent pop-up on JP. Let's take a look at this actual pop-up here, right? It's in Japanese, but we're about to get the translation. All right, so this roughly translates to the following: the device you are using is not supported. Using an unsupported device, if you continue playing, it may not work properly, or you may not be able to log into the game. Please link your account and transfer the data to a recommended model and recommended OS version. Please check the notice for details. Obviously, literally just giving you a warning, being like, hey, you know, shenanigans are about to ensue, so be careful and don't lose your account. Which is nice of them to do. If you click on the More Info button, it takes you to an announcement that roughly translates to the following: thank you for using Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle. When you enjoy this application, we do not support the operation other than the recommended model and recommended OS version. Recommended model of the app, by the way. Like, an example of that, if you're familiar with Dokkan, was when we were modding the game with the Dokkan patcher, that required a non-legitimate version of the APK to make that work, or, well, the app in layman's terms. If you are using a device that falls under any of the following, you may not be able to log into the game. Devices that have been rooted or jailbroken and whose OS restrictions have been lifted, right? basically giving you back-end access to the device, not just Dokkan related things, but obviously by proxy Dokkan. Devices that use external tools or malicious programs. Devices whose time settings are significantly out of sync. That's interesting. I didn't actually know that one. You can't log into this application by using the corresponding device. Even in such a case, it is possible to transfer the data to the device of the recommended model and recommended OS version by linking the accounts in advance, right? We say this all the time. Please, please, please have your Dokkan account linked. I do not want anybody losing their account for any circumstance. Obviously, it is always a smart idea to link your account in any circumstance, no matter if this is what's about to go down or not, right? All that time, effort, and possibly money that you put into the game, you don't want to be losing that. We appreciate your understanding and cooperation. Also, please note that we cannot answer any inquiries regarding routing. We look forward to your continued support of Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle. Makes sense, because obviously that's not something that any official developer would want to touch, considering it could put them in harm's way in terms of their game, right? What information does Dokkan have that lets it know it's on an unsupported device? Dokkan sends the following information to the game servers when you log in by tapping the title screen. The file name of the game, com.bandainamcogames.dbz Dokkan, right? For the global one, there's a WW in there. The device token, the result of the SafetyNet, that word that I can't pronounce. If SafetyNet failed, it will send an error reason. The device manufacturer, the device model, the OS version, what platform you're on, and your unique game ID. Wow, that is actually kind of crazy. So here's what it looks like in the code. Obviously, this is pretty basic to understand, right? Literally, all of these spaces would be filled in with the information. Of course, this is T6's information, I'm sure, that he has crossed out here. So, very interesting that they literally know basically everything about the device that you're running your account on, right? We did talk about that before, but this is obviously the specifics of it. Kind of, that is a little bit scary, though. I'm not going to lie. Like, the fact that they know I'm using, like, a Razer Phone 2 or, you know, my Galaxy S8 or whatever to play the game. Kind of freaky. The theory that this pops up, not because of SafetyNet, but because of your device version, can easily be disproven. Spoof the device model, and OS version to a device that doesn't get this error, right? Spoofing, kind of like, I guess a synonym you could use for that would be emulating, right? Basically, changing that variable to make the server think that it's something else, right? I'll save everyone the time. I've done this on an unrooted device that doesn't pass SafetyNet. I still get that pop-up somewhere between 1 and 5 logins. That test, combined with the fact that the pop-up is linked to the rooting and jailbreak announcement, leads me to be fairly confident in relating that pop-up to a failed SafetyNet login. If you get this pop-up with a legitimate version of Dokkan, no cloned apps, or from illegitimate sources, try downloading a SafetyNet checker app from the Play Store. That is actually a really good resource because obviously, you know, that can let you know if things are working properly or not. Additional information. I've gone into more detail about the changes last year in version 4.12 in this post, right? Which is, again, a ton of detail that could literally be as long as this post in and of itself. So again, it is linked in this post, but we do have a summary right here of basically everything that we need to know. So again, if you want to take a look at this, please do. Alright, so let's take a look at our summary now. Dokkan has had an active and enabled SafetyNet for the past 10 months. Wow, there you go. There's the exact number. SafetyNet does not block mods, bots, emulators, root, etc. SafetyNet detects mods, bots, root, etc. Dokkan doesn't need an app update to block you from logging into Dokkan if you fail SafetyNet. The pop-up that had recently appeared is very likely caused by SafetyNet failed attestation. I think that's how you say it. SafetyNet does not slow the game down except at the title screen. Dokkan can selectively allow emulators but block mods, bots, and root. Yes, though very unlikely. We'll talk about that point a little bit more in a second. Will data mining end if SafetyNet starts preventing logins? No. Because again, like he said earlier, right, it's checks, not prevention. And another thing that you can all kind of have solace in is the fact that I trust this man to crack through anything. So if they really did, you know, end up changing that variable, or for some reason data mining did become, you know, quote unquote unattainable, I can tell you right now, this man would break through it. So no worries on that front. I have all the faith in the world in this man. Will the Dokkan Wiki end if SafetyNet starts preventing logins? No. Thankfully, obviously, you can still get that sort of thing with in-game news, right? And because we still are able to data mine, we can get that information to the Dokkan Wiki. All of these questions relate to a lot of questions that I'm sure T6 has been seeing on the timeline and just floating around the community as well. Will DBZ Space end if SafetyNet starts preventing logins? Maybe. That one is a maybe because obviously DBZ Space takes the information from the actual game servers and posts it onto its website. So it's a little bit different than how the Dokkan Wiki works, where it's actual humans inputting the information, right? The homie Renzi, who runs DBZ Space, isn't sitting there putting in the information himself. It's automatic, right? Funny enough, I believe that may be the reason, and don't quote me on this because I'm not positive, but as you can see, DBZ Space actually hasn't updated since the 8th, which was the chain battle with Piccolo for JP, and on Global the 18th, which was when the weekend summon started. Will emulators be blocked if SafetyNet starts preventing logins? Probably. Again, like T6 said, they could allow emulators, but it is probably unlikely that they will, considering the fact that with emulators you can do a lot of stuff in the back end, and I don't know for a fact if there's some shenanigans you can do in terms of like buying stones, right, or getting some kind of free stones. I've never heard of something like that, but I'd imagine that would be one of the ways that it's possible, because using an emulator is just an easier way to root your device, i.e. get into, you know, those type of shenanigans, basically. Will bots be blocked if SafetyNet starts preventing logins? Very likely. I think that literally the only reason why they would not be is if you had a super competent programmer at the helm that was able to get around that sort of thing. But again, SafetyNet is there to, you know, try and kill these bots by, you know, checking those sort of variables and then preventing it from logging in, right? Because obviously the bot still needs to log into your account. Will YouTube showcase with 100% unit stop if SafetyNet starts preventing logins? No. Amen to that, brother. Can a device be modified to bypass SafetyNet? Likely. Again, T6 with the big brain here. That point kind of exemplifies what I was talking about earlier. Can an emulator be modified to bypass SafetyNet? Unlikely. I've actually been told this by multiple people, again, who are, you know, around T6's level in terms of, you know, the knowledge of this type of stuff, who are genuinely a lot smarter than I am when it comes to this sort of thing. I don't know the exact reason why this is. I believe it has something to do with, you know, emulation will never be actual hardware that something is running on. And again, because they're preventing emulators, and they're obviously not going to prevent you from running it on an actual device. I mean, unless it's rooted, right? Some kind of, I keep saying shenanigans. That's not really the word I want to use here. Either way, though, that is true, obviously. I mean, he literally said it himself. If I modded in the past, will they ban me now? Unlikely, just like I said before. Why is Dokkan taking so long to do something? They were gathering data and comparing it with profits before taking action. Now, that part of this obviously makes sense because, of course, for Dokkan, this decision is highly related to their sort of, I don't want to say vision, but I guess their view on making money from the game, right? Obviously, like he says here, they're gathering data on how much money the game is making now compared to what they were making before they took action. Now, I will say, I don't know if that's necessarily the smartest thing to do on Bandai's part, only because there's obviously a lot of factors that play into this. For one, this year has been filled with a ton of Dokkan Fest characters that aren't the usual and have been a huge deviation from the norm, meaning that that obviously is a contributing factor. As well, we just had a global event take place that I'm not going to name because, you know, I don't want to be hunted down by the YouTube ninjas, but I digress. Obviously, that has a huge effect on the sales of the game. So I hope they're taking that into consideration when comparing this information. Now, T6 says, if there are any questions or sections you want more detail on, please ask away. So, again, like I said here, even the dumb ones, T6 is answering all questions. There are a couple of them that I took a look at before that I wanted to cover before we got out of here today that I think are just more important notes to touch on related to all this information. Right? So I guess I was right to think they just don't care to ban anyone anymore to keep the profits up, almost turning a blind eye to modding since they're still making tons of money regardless. From a company's profit perspective, it does make sense. They don't want to block access to a group of people even if that group contains cheaters because that group also contains legitimate players. Makes sense. Like people who use emulators because they don't have a phone versus people who use emulators to mod. Obviously, that is one crazy thing that basically is going to just be kind of an L for anybody who just plays legitimately on an emulator, right? If they do finally give the boot to emulators, right? Of course, people who are just using them to literally play the game and don't have a phone. That is mighty unfortunate. Obviously, that is probably a rare circumstance considering if you're playing on an emulator on a computer, I assume you probably have access to some kind of phone or could get access to some kind of phone. But of course, everyone's situation is different. Is there a list of the things Global League showed us? Not yet. I've been wanting to compile a full list, but haven't found the time. Hopefully, eventually. And if we do eventually get a post on that, if you guys would like to see that, please let me know in the comment section below. I will make a video on that too, if Thieving Six obviously posts that publicly. Or allows me to post it, I suppose. So regarding the acquisition of assets, hey, let's go. Will that be harder due to SafetyNet? I'm unsure what method it used to pull from them directly from the game. Currently, the standard I know is an application you run on a computer that downloads the assets and separates the new stuff. If failed, SafetyNet starts to prevent logins. This application will no longer work. The next logical solution is a device with SafetyNet bypassed using Magisk. You would just let the game download the assets like it would normally, then export them from the device. There are some more complicated setups that would be able to automate the process, but they're all unknowns until they become necessary. Again, keep in mind, with a lot of this stuff, right, in terms of what will happen in the end-all be-all scenario to all of this, we won't know until it is, you know, like until they start doing something with the information, I guess would be the best way to put it, right? Because for now, we can still do everything how we could normally before. And I do want to say, in relation to the assets, I will obviously be doing everything in my power to continue posting them. I love posting the assets. I genuinely enjoy exploring the game's files. It is a huge passion project for me. Of course, I like doing YouTube related to this sort of thing. And, you know, I love sharing with all of you and interacting with all of you on Twitter and that sort of thing. So, of course, whatever it takes to be able to get the assets, I'm going to do it. And thankfully, I have some powerful people like Thieving Six on my side in relation to that. Let's keep on keeping on here. We got a couple of more. Okay, so just for clarification, I can continue playing the game on Nox Player without worry of my main account ever being banned permanently, blocked from playing the game. Emulators will work until and unless they decide to prevent emulators from logging in because of SafetyNet failure. There is no way to know if they will ban or just prevent logins. We can make some best guesses based on how they are wording their pop-up warning. Sometime in the future, they will prevent logins on emulators. If you transfer to a SafetyNet passing device, you'll be able to continue playing. By the way, SafetyNet passing device literally just means like a device that is a normal phone, right? Like literally your smartphone that you use every day that's not rooted or jailbroken. I have a question. If I'm using an app cloner to be able to use Dokkan on my Huawei device that doesn't have GMS, will SafetyNet prevent me from logging in if it's activated? App cloners, in most cases, will need to re-sign the application to be able to install it. It is as a cloned app version. This will cause SafetyNet to fail. While I'm not familiar with GSpace, it probably works the same way. If you're unfamiliar with app cloners at all, by the way, of course, this guy needs it to be able to play the game on his particular phone. But app cloners are basically something where you can have two of the same app on your phone at the same time. I've used it on many of my Android devices before to have like 3 different versions of Dokkan, like 3 different versions of JP. I guess accounts would be a better thing to say. 3 different accounts of JP on the phone at the same time. So that's what is being referenced there. This is also something that I wanted to make sure got squashed because this is something very, very important. Because I see people ask this question all the time, and I want to make sure that people are not confused by this. How will this affect the JP version that's downloaded from QApp? The QApp version is the same as the official APK, which means the official version from the Japanese Play Store. As long as the device you are running passes SafetyNet, you should be fine with QApp. Again, it is the official version of JP, so you will have no problems using the app from QApp. In other words, the pop-up right now is more of an indicator for people that have not checked their device or chosen to ignore the announcement for whether or not they will pass the test. Will a prevention version be implemented, or is that not known? Thanks in advance, T6. Yes, the pop-up is basically a failed SafetyNet notification. They don't need an application to update to flip the switch. Whenever they choose, the device that is currently running will get the pop-up, will unlikely to be able to log in. The only other thing that I do want to tell you is, funny enough, kind of in relation to this comment here. That makes sense. I guess it's nice of them to give you a second, more prominent warning to indicate that it might be a good idea to switch. I know that a lot of global players were actually kind of spooked when we had the last update and people were thinking that SafetyNet was fully implemented. Even I made the mistake of misinterpreting some information that I was given, which again, I made a tweet about that, and I really apologize for that because of course I hate spreading misinformation, and that is part of the reason for me making this video, because of course I want to clear the air on anything, on any questions that you all have with SafetyNet. But the point of this warning post right here that I wanted to go over is it is more than likely that Global will also get one of these. Global has not gotten one of these, at least I have not seen one go up. So I'm sure that before anything were to actually happen, just like JP has got one of these, Global will also get one of these too. They're not literally just going to screw over the whole Global player base and be like, you know, we just didn't let you know, so sorry, right? So obviously Global will get some sort of notice for this as well. That is everything that I have for you today. I do apologize that this was such a long video, but of course I wanted to go over everything in detail and of course give you all of the information that I knew, as well as, you know, going through this post in detail so you can be as informed as possible. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. I feel like I need to say that because I haven't, and I guess that's just the YouTube thing to do. But more importantly, again, if you do have any other questions about anything that we talked about in this video, please hit up this Reddit post, which will be linked in the description below, as well as T6's social media. But if you have any questions, definitely comment it on this Reddit post. Like we just showed, T6 is literally answering every single question. So, without further ado, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on everything related to what we just talked about. I know it was a lot, but let me know your thoughts on everything that we just discussed in today's video in the comments section below. I always love hearing what you guys have to say, of course, and I will catch you in the next one. Dokkan Assets out. Peace.